It was a crisp autumn evening when I finally returned to Milden after years away at boarding school. The drive through the countryside had been a nostalgic journey filled with memories of my childhood adventures. As I pulled into the driveway, my heart raced at the sight of my old home. A quaint two-story house with peeling blue paint and a porch that creaked with history. "Mux, you're back!" My sister, Kaya, bounded down the stairs as soon as I stepped inside, her eyes sparkling with excitement. She was 11 now, brimming with energy and imagination. "You won't believe the stories I've heard about the woods. We have to explore tomorrow." "Of course, I remember," I laughed, rustling her hair. "But first, let's check the attic. There might be treasures up there from when I was a kid." The attic had always fascinated us, a realm of dust and forgotten memories. Together, we climbed the narrow staircase that creaked ominously under our weight. Dust motes danced in the beams of light that broke through the small, grimy window. As we rummaged through boxes filled with old toys and clothes, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. "Look at this!" Kaya exclaimed, holding up a dusty, ornate mirror. Its surface shimmered oddly, reflecting not just our faces but something darker lurking behind us. My stomach dropped, and I frowned, feeling a chill creep up my spine. "Taya, maybe we should put that back," I suggested, an unease growing within me. But she was already captivated, her fingers brushing against the cold glass. Suddenly, a gust of wind howled through the attic, rattling the window panes. The mirror flashed, and in its depths, I glimpsed a figure, tall and cloaked, with tendrils of darkness swirling around it. My heart raced. "Did you see that?" I gasped, stepping back. "What? I didn't see anything." "Kaya replied, confused. I shook my head, brushing off the eerie feeling. "Let's head downstairs." The following day dawned gray and foreboding, the clouds hanging heavy in the sky. Despite the ominous weather, Kaya and I set off toward the woods, our childhood haunt. As we ventured deeper into the forest, the atmosphere shifted. The air grew still, and an unnatural silence enveloped us. "Do you remember the stories about the Stonehead?" Kaya asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "They say it lurks in these woods, feeding off fear." I scoffed, trying to sound brave. "That's just an old wise tale. There's no such thing. It's probably just a story to scare kids." But as we reached our fort, an overwhelming sense of dread washed over me. The trees stood tall and menacing, their branches twisting like skeletal fingers. "Let's check out the old cabin," I suggested, trying to lighten the mood despite my rising anxiety. The cabin was a relic of our childhood adventures, a dilapidated structure hidden among the trees. As we approached, I noticed strange symbols carved into the door. "What do you think they mean?" I asked, running my fingers over the rough wood. "Maybe they're warnings," Kai replied, her eyes wide. "Or maybe they're a way to keep something out." Just then, a low growl echoed from the depths of the forest, sending chills down my spine. "Did you hear that?" I asked, my heart racing. "Let's go back," Kaya urged, but curiosity had already gotten the better of me. "We can't just leave," I insisted. "We have to see what's inside." As we stepped into the cabin, the air grew colder, and shadows flitted across the walls. Old furniture lay in disarray, and cobwebs clung to every surface. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind us, making Kaya jump. "Mux, what's happening?" she shouted, her voice trembling. "It's okay. Just stay close," I replied, trying to sound more confident than I felt. Then from the corner of my eye, I saw it, the Stonehead. Its figure loomed in the shadows, a mass of darkness with glowing eyes that pierced the gloom. "You shouldn't have come here," it hissed, its voice echoing like a haunting melody. "What do you want?" I demanded, trying to sound brave. "Your fear, it nourishes me," it replied, a sinister smile curling its lips. "You'll be mine." Panic surged through me as I grabbed Kaya's hand. "Rot!" I shouted, and we bolted toward the door, but it wouldn't budge. "Max, what do we do?" Kaya cried, her voice filled with terror. "I don't know," I shouted back, looking around desperately for an escape. As we stumbled through the dark realms, I recalled Mr. Grayson, our wise old neighbor. He always spoke of ancient rituals and protective symbols. Taya, remember what Mr. Grayson said about banishing dark spirits? I asked. Yes, something about drawing symbols with salt, she replied, her eyes lighting up with hope. We raced to the kitchen, where an old salt shaker sat on the counter, as if waiting for us. I grabbed it, and with trembling hands, I began drawing protective symbols on the floor. Come on, help me, I urged, and Kaya quickly joined in, her fingers moving swiftly. The air grew sicker, and the shadows shifted around us, trying to close in. I can't believe this is happening, I muttered, my heart racing. What if we can't stop it? We have to believe we can, Kaya insisted, determination shining in her eyes. If we can just finish these symbols, it has to work. The stone hood's growls intensified as it lunged toward us, shadows swirling like a tempest. You think you can escape? It taunted, but I pushed through the fear, focusing on the symbols. Begone, dark spirit, I shouted, my voice steady despite the chaos around us. You have no power here. As we completed the symbols, a bright light enveloped us, pushing back the darkness. The stone hood shrieked, its form distorting as the light grew stronger. No, this cannot be, it howled, the shadows around it dissipating. Then, in a blinding flash, the stone hood vanished, leaving only silence in its wake. Breathless, I turned to Kaya. Do we do it? I asked, disbelief washing over me. I think so, she replied, her face pale but triumphant. The cabin felt lighter, as if the air had cleared. As we stepped outside, the forest felt different, lighter, as if the oppressive darkness had lifted. Let's never speak of this again, I said, trying to shake off the lingering fear. Agreed. Kaya laughed nervously, but I could see the excitement in her eyes. But that was amazing, Max. We defeated a monster. Yeah, we did, I admitted, smiling despite the tremors of fear still coursing through me. But I think I'd rather stick to exploring the treehouse next time. That evening, I felt restless. Something nagged at me, the memory of the mirror in the attic. After dinner, I decided to pay a visit to Mr. Grayson, who lived just a few houses down. He was known in the neighborhood for his vast knowledge of local folklore and his knack for storytelling. As I approached his house, the wind rustled through the trees, and the shadows seemed to stretch toward me. I knocked on his door, and he answered almost immediately, his gray hair tousled and his eyes twinkling with curiosity. Mux, it's good to see you. I heard you were back in town, he said, inviting me inside. Thanks, Mr. Grayson. I need to talk to you about something strange we found in the woods, I said, nervously shifting from foot to foot. We settled into his cozy living room, the walls adorned with bookshelves and curiosities. I explained our encounter with the stone hood, and his expression grew serious. Ah, the stone hood, a dark spirit that has plagued these woods for centuries, he said, stroking his beard thoughtfully. It feeds on fear and can manifest in many forms. You did well to confront it. What else can you tell me? I asked, intrigued and terrified. It's said that the stone hood can be summoned through objects imbued with negative energy, he replied. The mirror you found in the attic might have been one of those objects. My heart's sake, we need to get rid of it, I said, determination settling in. But how? Mr. Grayson leaned in closer. There's an old ritual passed down for generations. If you gather the right ingredients, a feather from a white bird, a sprig of lavender, and a candle, along with your protective symbols, you can perform a banishment. Let's do it, I said, feeling a surge of resolve. I can't let that thing come back. The next day, Kaya and I set out to gather the ingredients. First, we headed to the old willow tree by the river, where I had often played as a child. It was rumored that a family of white doves nested there. Look, Kaya pointed as we approached the tree, spotting the doves perched on a branch. We can ask for a feather. Creeping closer, I reached out my hand, hoping to catch the attention of the gentle creatures. "Excuse me, little friends," I whispered, trying to be calm. "May I have a feather?" To our surprise, one of the doves fluttered down, landing on my outstretched hand. It tilted its hand curiously. "Thank you," I breathed, plucking a soft feather from its wing. The dove cooed softly, as if understanding our plight, before flying back to its perch. Next, we needed lavender. We hurried to Victoria's family garden, which was renowned for its fragrant herbs. As we picked sprigs of lavender, Victoria appeared, her face lighting up with surprise. "Mux, Gaia, what are you two up to?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "We're gathering ingredients for a project," I said, trying to sound nonchalant. "Can I join? I love adventures." Victoria insisted, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "Of course," Kai chimed in, and we settled in on our plan. As we made our way back home, we discussed our next steps. "We have to do this before nightfall," I urged. "We can't let the stone hood linger." Victoria nodded, her expression serious. "I believe in you too. We can do this together." That evening, we set up the ritual in the backyard, laying out the ingredients under the pale moonlight. The air felt charged with energy as we prepared the symbols and lit the candle. "Are we sure we want to do this?" Victoria asked, her voice tinged with concern. "What if something goes wrong? We have to try," I insisted. "We can't let it come back. It's not just about us. It's about everyone in Milden." Kyle looked at me, her face set with determination. "I'm with you, Max. Let's banish it for good." We joined hands, forming a circle around the symbols. As I began to chant the words Mr. Grayson had taught me, the wind picked up, swirling around us. The candle flickered violently, casting long shadows that danced in the darkness. "Stonehood, you are not welcome here," I cried, feeling a surge of bravery. "By the light of the moon and the strength of this circle, I command you to leave." Suddenly, the air turned cold, and a dark mist began to form at the edge of our circle. The stone hood appeared, its form twisting and writhing in anger. "You think you can banish me?" It hissed, its voice echoing with malice. "I strive on seer," but I stood firm. "Your time is over. We are not afraid of you." The mist swirled around us, trying to break our circle, but the symbols glowed with an intense light. I could feel the power of our unity pushing back against the darkness. "Keep chanting," I urged, and we all recited the words together, our voices rising in a crescendo of defiance. The stone hood shrieked, its form flickering as the light intensified. "No, you cannot do this," it cried, but we pressed on, refusing to let fear take hold. As we reached the climax of the chant, the ground beneath us shook. The symbols blazed with light, pushing back the darkness. The stone hood writhed, its form distorting as if being pulled apart by an unseen force. With one final surge of energy, we raised our hands high, the light exploding outward in a brilliant flash. The stone hood let out a final, bone-chilling scream before being engulfed in the light, dissipating into nothingness. Silence fell, and as the light faded, we stood in the stillness, panting and wide-eyed. "Did we do it?" Victoria whispered, glancing around. "I think so," I replied, my voice barely a whisper. "I think we did." Kai grinned, bouncing on her feet. We defeated the stone hut as dawn broke, casting warm light over Milden. I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. The woods felt different now, inviting rather than foreboding. We gathered the remnants of our ritual. The darkness that had loomed over us finally lifted. "I can't believe we faced the stone hood," Victoria said, her eyes sparkling with wonder. "That was incredible." "Yeah, but let's not make a habit of confronting dark spirits," I replied, chuckling nervously. "I prefer my adventures without the potential for existential dread." We laughed, the sound echoing through the trees as we walked back toward home. The air was fresh, and the world felt alive with possibility. That evening, I returned to the attic, the mirrors still sitting there. I hesitated, but something urged me forward. I gently covered it with a cloth, determined to keep its dark power at bay. As I descended the stairs, I found Taya waiting for me. "What's next for us, Max?" she asked, her eyes bright with anticipation. "Who knows?" I replied, smiling. "But whatever it is, we'll face it together." With the stone had gone, I felt a sense of peace settle over Milden. And as we stepped into the new day, I realized that home was not just a place. It was the bonds we forged, the adventures we shared, and the courage we found in each other. One afternoon, as I sat on my bed, I felt a familiar tingle of unease wash over me. "Maybe it's time for another adventure," I muttered, my curiosity piqued. I grabbed my notebook, a gift from Kaya, and began jotting down ideas for our next escapade. "What are you working on?" Kaya asked, popping her head through the door, her dark hair cascading over her shoulders. "Just some ideas," I replied, hiding my excitement. "I thought we could explore the old abandoned cabin in the woods." Her eyes widened. "The one that's been closed up for years? That sounds awesome." "Yeah, but we need to be careful," I warned, feeling the weight of our previous encounter. "Who knows what could be lurking in there? Maybe we'll find more secrets," she said, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "Like treasure or ghost stories." I chuckled. "Or maybe just a bunch of raccoons. Either way, it'll be fun." That weekend, we decided to gather a group. Victoria, our ever-enthusiastic friend, jumped at the chance. "Count me in," she declared, her spirit infectious. As the sun began to set, casting an orange glow over the woods, we set out, armed with flashlights, snacks, and our determination. The forest felt alive, whispers of leaves dancing in the gentle breeze. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still watching us. The old cabin loomed ahead, its dark silhouette framed against the twilight sky. Vines snaked up the wooden walls, and the windows were boarded up, a forgotten relic of time. "Here it is," I said, stopping in front of the creaking door. "The infamous cabin of Milden." "It looks spooky," Victoria whispered, her voice a mix of excitement and apprehension. Kaya nudged me playfully. "Are you ready to face whatever's inside, brave adventurer?" "More like brave explorer," I replied, giving her a half smile. "Let's see what secrets it holds."